You're only at 1 million revenues. Like, why would you even think about acquisitions? Why would that even be in your pitch deck? It makes no sense to me that this was being done, but they did it. Everybody, welcome to the Bliss Life. Today is the 14th of February 2022. So I want to say happy Thanksgiving. Nope. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody. Clearly, I have nothing else to do today, so I'm going to get straight into doing my due dil on Wejo. So the first thing that I have to say is, if you haven't seen my other SPAC videos, I've done them on Faraday Future, Astrocast, Lilium, Sarcos Robotics, etc. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. You go to the Palantir due diligence playlist and you check those videos out, because there is a lot of knowledge to be gained in those videos. Now, Wejo, where do I begin? I think I've been up to date with Wejo. I've seen all of their promotional videos, you know, all the nice little gadgets, you know, the nice little marketing clips that they put together. But there's a lot of noise, and this is really a video that's going to be ruthless. I'm just going to look at the facts, go through their presentation, go through their financials, and lay it out for you, because I personally, I'm quite disappointed for how much they've been marketing themselves and touting themselves as, you know, oh, we have billions and billions of data points, but they have so little to show for it. So let's just get straight into it and let's go. Okay, so what I did was I went through their investor presentation, which came out in January 2022. I trimmed the fat. I took out what I thought was relevant, so I will make sure we run that together, and then I'll go through the main key facts and, you know, discuss my thoughts and feelings about different things. So let's get straight into it. What does Wejo do? Wejo is essentially a data aggregator. It collects a bunch of data from autonomous vehicles and electric vehicles that are on the road and connected vehicles. So it might be fuel or what did they call it? Internal combustion engine vehicles too. Great tagline here. Wejo collects more data per day than the New York Stock Exchange. Wejo multi-original OEM, you know, it means the original manufacturers of the vehicles. Data supply, they get 60.4 billion data points per day, 507 billion miles curated, 8.1 petabytes, 62.6 billion journeys, 462,000 data points ingested per second, 72.7 million journeys per day. It really feels like it's a lot of data, and obviously they're benefiting from being affiliated with Palantir Foundry, Palantir and Palantir Foundry, an extension. Now, where are they? 4 continents, 33 pending and 1 granted patent. Vehicles live, 12 million approximately. Not too bad. Okay, fine. Here, what do they say? Preferred partner of major OEMs. So, you know, they're partnered with Palantir, GM, Microsoft. They have a proven technology platform where they connect unique data asset generating live vehicle insights and use that data to attack and generate revenues from large untapped market opportunities. Okay. Very, very fluffy. Now, independent software and analytics platform for the AV, EV, and connected vehicle industry. So, you know, they give a lot of examples like, oh, you know, we have the Wejo market data solutions. Wejo's unique data supply serves customers across multiple industry verticals, including government, retail, construction, real estate, 8 distinct product lines, which can support multiple industries. Fantastic. So exciting. Data visualization, they have data visualization tools, Wejo software cloud solutions, and then they have the Wejo Neural Edge. I mean, they've been definitely taking pointers from Palantir's marketing team. You know, a lot of fancy words here. Data standardization, data security and privacy, data optimization, edge processing, and Vehicle 2X Communications. Great. Industry leaders are partnering and investing in Wejo. That's positive, you know. That's the thing. Even though me, you know, simple-minded Jat, you know, I'm just like, oh, show me the money. I want to see results. These big players are taking risks and partnering or investing in Wejo. That includes Microsoft, Palantir, GM, Sompo Japan. So there's a lot of deals here. And they all say their nice little words about it. And I'm not going to go through it, but it's just to, you know, showcase that there's some credibility here. The key takeaways from their financial and operational metrics. This is where things get interesting. Total contract value, 20 million. That's it. $20 million. That's how much in deal pipeline they have. 20 million. Despite collecting 16.4 billion data points per day, 72 million journeys per day, they only have $20 million in deal value. They only generated about $5 million in annual recurring revenue. And let me stress, this number and this number, gross sales 4.1 million, they're extremely misleading because this pie is shared with the OEMs. Wejo doesn't get to keep that full 4.1 million. No way. And you only find this out when their financials came out and you go in the details and then you realize, oh my God, they're an agent. They're distributing the data that belongs to a lot of these OEMs, and then they're selling it, and then they have to split the pot, split the revenues with the OEMs. They don't get to keep all of it. They actually only get to keep 1 million. So you see what the problem is, right? There's a lot of, oh yeah, you know, we the best. We collected so much data. We got data for days. But then when you say, okay, cool, you know, let me see how much money you're making. Tell me how much sales you're making. And then it's like, oh, so yeah, sales. Yeah. Just a million. Just $1 million. That's nothing. That's pathetic. And that's why I'm not so impressed. You know, the market cap is 393. You know, let's say 400 million rounded. So their price to sales is 400-ish. It's ridiculous. So that's why I am very not pleased with how they pitch themselves, but they haven't really executed. So let's go straight to the facts that we know. Name Wejo Group, ticker Wejo on the Nasdaq, software infrastructure, headquartered in Manchester, UK. Founded in 2014, they have about 250 employees. Let me zoom in, maybe it's a little bit clear for people. Public listed debut, they debuted on November 19th, 2021 at a valuation of $800 million. This is why people hate on SPACs, because it looks like they get such generous valuations with very little public information for people to evaluate when the company is pre-SPAC. And then when you find out, holy cow, you know, they're being valued at 800 million, but they only made $1 million. You playing me? Like, is this stupid or what? You think I'm stupid? But those are the details that are always like hidden in the dark. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Wejo doesn't have a lot of potential. It definitely does. But in the traditional sense, you will never, ever buy a rental property for, let's say, $800 million when it only makes rental income of $1 million a year. You know what I mean? Like, that's the simplest way I can put it. So it's ridiculous, but let's keep going. So the share price as of 13th February, okay, I did this last night, it was 419. I think it was still at 419. Yeah, so it's still good. Valuation at 394. What's the company's vision? Wejo wants to democratize the access to data for all OEMs and enabling amazing experiences for drivers, smart cities, and OEM themselves. How will they change the world? We organize billions of data points from millions of connected cars, partnering with global automotive manufacturers to stream data at scale and speed. We transform and enhance big data, turning it into meaningful products that power innovation, drive efficiencies, and innovate mobility. Now, my critical points, my critical takeaway is Wejo says it has a lot of data and it's going to offer a lot of data solutions to target customers. There's so many things here, like, you know, and then they break down their target customers. They give you like an outline, like, oh, you know, in 2021, we want to hit the radio stations so that they can measure who's listening to what, so on and so forth, how much, I guess, time they sit in traffic, I imagine, and that could be like, oh, well, during those times we can do targeted ads. I don't know. Then there's 2022, they want to get into fleet management services, end-to-end insurance, remote diagnostics, roadside assistance, car sharing and rental, and payment companies. So my issue with all of this is, I'm just going to be a hater, is, you know, how high are the barriers to entry in this field? You know, what stops the OEM themselves from saying, well, you know, I have my data sets, let me try to do this. And my rebuttal to that is, maybe one company with one data set alone is not as valuable as a conglomerate of data sets. But then what stops the automotive industry from just saying, okay, Wejo, you know, it was nice knowing you. You gave me great ideas, but, you know, we've always been an association. You know, the automotive industry has always been like a group, an association. They've always represented themselves when they try to lobby and do this, that, and the other. What stops them from just saying, guys, let's put our data together. Let's hit up Palantir and say, let's do a partnership and get this data out. So just Wejo itself, I don't see how high the barriers to entry is. Doesn't have any patents that are approved yet, only one. They have 33 pending, but you know, it's to be determined. You know, there's so many different routes you can take to get to the same solution. So, you know, Wejo can't just say, oh yeah, you know, we're the only ones who can use data from auto manufacturers, no one else. I don't think they can. So the same thing for insurance companies. You know, I'm just saying this based on my experience. I know insurance companies say, hey, download my app and we're going to monitor your driving abilities, and that data that they're collecting, what's in it for you or what's in it for me, you can get a 5% discount, a 10% discount at renewal. So I just have a hard time seeing how Wejo's building these high barriers to entries when it looks like they're just getting started and somebody can sweep in and take it all away. That might just be my ignorance, and you know what they say, ignorance is sometimes bliss. Maybe I just need to really see Wejo execute and showcase that they can lock down these deals, because right now I don't see anything. Even when it comes to governments, you know, it's not super clear, like, if governments are going to be spending a lot of time trying to decide where EV chargers should be installed. It's very possible that they have sister cities, bigger cities that have already done this experiment and they know where to put it. It could be as easy as, obviously, in people's homes, but if it can't be homes, then near their homes, by the park, at the corner of the street, at the workplace, at the mall, so on and so forth. So I don't think it's going to be a big experiment to try to understand where the EV infrastructure should be installed. The next point is SaaS data visualization. This really looks like it's a tool that was developed with Palantir Foundry. The interface looks very oddly familiar based on the videos I've watched. So this might be a partnership where Wejo actually starts paying Palantir, just like they do with their revenues from the data points that they collect from the OEMs. So this is all to be determined. All right, so what this chart shows is that Wejo plans to grow 10x as the market of connected vehicles also grows. So in 2021 or 2022, actually, they estimate that there's going to be about 265 million vehicles that are connected. And by 2030, that number is going to hit 600. So right now, Wejo says, we estimate to have 30 million vehicles connected to our platform. And by 2030, we want to have half of that at 300 million or 299. Now, why does this matter? Is because the more data that Wejo's able to collect, right now they're already saying they're collecting billions of data a day, but the more data they're able to collect, the more solutions that they can offer potential customers. And the more solutions they can offer potential customers, the more revenues they can make. So that is the whole takeaway here. I find it very ambitious that they think, right now they have 30 out of 265. So what's that? That's like 5%. Yeah, 5% of no, what is it? 5%? No, I'm lying. A bit over 10%. So they have a bit over 10%, and they think they're going to be able to capture about 50% by 2030. So if they only have 10% or a bit over 10% in 2022, when they say they're have great working relationships with OEMs, I'm guessing there's other competitors who are connected, because if this doubles and this holds steady, then they should have only had 60 million vehicles connected, or a bit over 60, but somehow they're getting more vehicles onto their platform. So I'm not sure what the actual strategy to that is, but they say they will get 50% of the connected vehicles. So I'm not maybe they're expecting that it's going to be new OEMs and new manufacturers that are going to have connected vehicles, and we're just going to hold on to that. But then that means they're just making things up and making up manufacturers, and it doesn't make too much sense to me. But that's what they say they're going to do. So I'll just give it to them, and let's stop right there. All right, so in the slides, I did see something else that really took me off guard, which was Wejo said that they plan on growing revenues through acquisitions. And they had 4 to 5 targets in mind that were either reflective of their core business or complementary to their business. And all of this caught me off guard because, you've been in the business since 2014, and the most you generated was 1 million in take-home revenues in 2021. So what makes you think that you're really ready to jump into an acquisition and to start acquiring companies and dealing with the change management, the clash of cultures, the risks that come with, overpaying for something or overestimating technologies, maintaining relationships? There's so many things that can go wrong with an acquisition, that what makes you think you're ready for this type of distraction? You're only at 1 million revenues. Like, why would you even think about acquisitions? Why would that even be in your pitch deck? It makes no sense to me that this was being done, but they did it. So that really caught me off guard. Then the other slide was when they talked about their competitive advantages, and I thought it was a joke. They said their competitive advantage is their OEM relationships, their commitment to privacy, the revolutionary neural edge platform, sounds like AI at the edge, and patents, where they have 33 pending and 1 granted. I personally think these are all very low barriers to climb. They're not real competitive advantages. Your OEM relationships don't seem like real OEM relationships, because you're only taking in 4 million gross and you're giving 75% of that away back to your OEM relationships. So you're really buying their relationships. They don't really care about you, and they can easily turn around and say, hey, we can make more money ourselves. Let's do this together. The commitment to privacy, you better have commitment to privacy. I don't understand. Like, in today's day and age, you need to have commitment to privacy. That's not a competitive advantage. That's just good business. And then the revolutionary neural edge platform, it's a lot of subjective words. Is that the word? Subjective? A lot of I guess descriptive words here. Revolutionary neural edge platform. Like, none of this means anything to me, so I don't really know what they're talking about. But they must be talking about this software that they brought up here, on the top where I mentioned it before. Neural edge, where they can do data centralization, security optimization, edge processing. So it's probably a Palantir product that they're reselling. And you know, the patents, I mean, great, yeah, you have patents, but like for what? Like these patents don't seem to really mean much because you only made 4 million in revenues last year. Like, who cares? How valuable are your patents? Acting like you have like the Apple iPhone patent, you know, like get out of here, you know, it's a joke. So the other issue, or the other interesting thing that I took away from all of this, is the link between the vehicles that Wejo wants on its platform. So they say they want to have 300 million. So what they do is they give you like an economics per vehicle. So they say like, okay, well, when we have well, here's 2025, so 124. So they didn't go to 2030, my bad. So here 124. What they do is they say, okay, well, for every vehicle that we have, we expect to generate $11. That's impressive. If they can pull out $11, let's keep the math simple. $10 for 124 million vehicles. How much is that? That's $1 billion, 1.2 billion. Keep it simple. And the way they say that they're going to get to this is by offering different product services at these prices in 2025. But the truth is, how did you even get to this pricing? This pricing can be totally incorrect, okay? For example, here in orange, right? They say traffic info, 374 per vehicle. I'm not sure how they got to these numbers. 320. I don't know what RDS means, but they must have elaborated it on the slides. Then they say here in green, FMS leasing, end-to-end insurance. Like, there's a lot of big assumptions here being made based on pricing that I'm actually very curious if any of this is accurate. Like, first prove it to me, then I'll believe your numbers, because right now this is just a bunch of numbers on a nice slide. So I don't know if Palantir saw more in-depth detail, and that's why they felt compelled to invest in Wejo. But right now, it's not too exciting for me. All right, so the critical points, there was a lot, and I ran through them. Now let's get to some of the interesting things. The total addressable market per Wejo is 61 billion, and that's comprised of 30 billion in SaaS solutions for OEMs and 31 billion for serving 200 markets. McKinsey, they put a little snippet from McKinsey's market research, where McKinsey believes data monetization from cars can be a 450 to 750 billion dollar market because it can help address security and safety concerns, reduce costs, and generate revenue. Now, you know, I don't know if anyone's going to remember McKinsey wrote this in 2030. But if it is going to be worth that much, then that's going to be incredible. And Wejo is going to have a huge chance to make a lot of chunk of change, a lot of money. And it's a question of whether they can pull it off or not. But today, let's look at the facts. Today, 9 months, September 30th, 2021 financials. This is right before they went public. They went public in November, but these are the financials based on the results. They had 9 million in cash, which later grew to 300 million after they went public. Total assets was 33 million, 13 million in prepaids, 10 million in tangible assets. So that must be their R&D technologies. Total liabilities, 190, of which 127 million is derivative, so 28 million. So, you know, once you look at their cash position pro forma, like once they do the SPAC, you know, they have way more cash than their current liabilities, so they should be okay. Revenues here, 1 million. That is not impressive. Their investor presentation says 4 million, and that's because it's before the revenue sharing with OEM partners. After revenue sharing, it goes down to 1 million. So it is really not impressive. They lost $45 million. They lost $162 million in net income. Palantir's investment is $53 million. How can Palantir really profit? Well, no, it's not 53 million. It's actually 35. That's a mistake. And I got that right over here. Where are you? Yeah, 35. So that's that. So 35 million. Palantir, it has a $53 million deal. So that is impressive. I found that in the Wejo financials, where they say Palantir has a subscription agreement of 6 years, which as of September 30th, 50 million remains to be paid. So I just reverse engineered the numbers, and I was able to figure out that, okay, that's about $53 million, the contract. So, you know, Palantir can make money if obviously the subscription agreement is paid in full and Wejo doesn't go bankrupt, and Wejo becomes a successful company, and Palantir can reap the returns on the equity investment. However, there's also another side that I didn't initially think, but then I started thinking about, which was the data visualization tool that we saw before and the neural edge tool that Wejo says they're going to offer their customers. I think both of those tools are Palantir related tools. So Palantir is probably going to have a revenue sharing agreement with Wejo, just like how Wejo is having a revenue sharing agreement with the OEMs. It's not for certain. It's possible that Wejo is just paying for the service or paying for access to the software to be licensed to resell. But it's possible that there might be a royalty deal in here and we just don't know about it yet. Wejo could potentially be in a relationship with these other companies that Palantir is invested in. Palantir has invested in Faraday Future, an electric vehicle company, Tritium, an electric vehicle charging station company, Embark, a autonomous trucking company. Palantir has invested in an EV charging company that hasn't been named, and also an autonomous vehicle company that hasn't been named. So Wejo could technically start doing business with all of these firms, and all of this can be a synergy that spins into and benefits Palantir. So this is something that you really need to think about. Now, news, I mean, there's nothing crazy here. They went public on 18th. This is the revenue, this is the Palantir agreement where they spoke about, well, you know, the first of its kind operating system for electric vehicle infrastructure is going to be passed or sold to customers through Palantir Foundry. No mention of how much money it's going to mean. No mention of what kind of revenues or clients are going to have. They said governments, maybe some oil companies that have to convert their stations or gas stations to electric stations, but nothing really meaningful. It's just an announcement. The investor presentation was released in January. So that's that for news. In terms of team, the CEO, I wanted to focus on the CEO because the CEO is responsible for the strategic direction and managing all aspects of the business. So he has had some success by creating a company and selling it in the UK. And then, you know, he's interested in cars. So that's why he said, okay, well, you know, let me create Wejo, and we can use the data that's going to eventually come for these vehicles and do some good with it. I don't know how successful he's going to be, but it's to be determined. The other two individuals are the EVP of sales, and my takeaway for both of them is that none of them have automotive experience or working in the automotive industry, except Craig Smith. They mentioned that he's led businesses in the automotive spaces, but they don't really elaborate on it. They just elaborate on a bunch of other things. So I don't know how he's related to automotive space, because they say automotive space, but then they don't really get into it. So maybe I'm missing something here, but it's not obvious. So that's my takeaway. So now let's go to my BlissLife marking grid. Now, from Palantir's point of view, you know, if I had to rank this investment, I would definitely say that Wejo is considered a innovative product. It is doing a lot of data gathering. It is going to help develop a lot of product solutions that could technically make EVs more accessible to, you know, medium or low income families who can't afford a charger at home or can't have chargers in their apartments. Also, autonomous vehicles, they might be accelerating the autonomous vehicle market by collecting data points and allowing authorities to decide if it's safe or not, or which routes could it be safe or safe to use. So I will give that a green. Okay, I will give that a pass. Is it profitable today? No, it's not. Do they need more capital? Technically, no. Because if we looked at how much money they were losing from operations, they were losing 45 million for every $1 million revenue. So let me correct myself. They are definitely going to need more cash if they keep this going. So let's say, you know, for whatever reason, if this grew to 100 million, would this stay at 45? Probably not. So if they burn, you know, if this grows to 100 million, 100x, I'm sure this would at least grow 5x. So if that's the case, then, you know, that means 5 times 50, 250. So 250 million, they're going to burn through their cash that they got from the SPAC investment in no time. So I'm going to give this a red, just because there's so many stupid reasons. Like, A, they're not making money. They're not making revenues. B, they were dumb enough to talk about acquisitions. And C, if revenues do grow, I actually see a lot of expenses coming up that are probably not buried in the P&L right now. So TBD, you know, prove me wrong. Risk versus reward, is it worth investing? This is where for Palantir, I'm struggling, because from Palantir's point of view, they hear, okay, huge data, lots and lots of data. We want to have 300 million connected vehicles. Our revenues can be $1 billion. And then they say, okay, well, Palantir, invest 35 million in us and we'll give you a $53 million deal. So if the company can survive for 6 years till May 2027 about, then Palantir will get its money back. You know, it will get its full 53 million. Reason why I think there's more to this that we don't know about is that Palantir is a critical partner to Wejo. It's just not being shown yet. But I think Palantir is offering AI at the edge. Palantir is offering the Foundry modules, everything that Wejo needs to sell. Palantir is giving it to Wejo. And I think through that, there's going to be a revenue sharing agreement. And that's how Palantir is going to profit. It hasn't been discussed yet, but I'm suspecting that's what it is, because there's been so many references or so many similar marketing words being used, you know, like AI processing at the edge of the vehicle. You know, what does that mean? Like, where have we heard that from before? So because of that, I think there's a lot more to this deal that we don't know about. And the fact that Palantir can invest 35 million and potentially get back a $53 million deal to hold it out and wait and see if Wejo is going to grow to having 300 million cars that are on their platform. And if that's the case, you better believe this $53 million contract is probably going to go 3x, 4x. So because of that, I'm going to give it a green for Palantir. So overall, I would say this is a win. It's a very skeptical win, in my opinion, but there's still a lot more to see, and that's why SPACs are easy targets. You know, they need the money because not everyone believes in them, and someone who does believe in them, they believe in them because they have a lot to gain from this deal, just like Palantir. So if you like what you heard today and you like my rationale, the way I think and the way I explain things, then definitely hit the subscribe button and make sure you check out my Palantir Do Deal playlist. I'll see you on the next one.